I'm wondering how you guys feel about showing your work, whether it's your art, your photography, or any creative practice you engage in. I'm really curious about this because I remember struggling so much with this a few years ago. Thankfully, nowadays I feel a little more relaxed in this area. I still, of course, have things to work on, but I believe it's an interesting topic to discuss, and I would love to know your experiences with this and whether it's something you question or not. So, here's a new episode of me sharing my random thoughts about creativity, about the creative process and its ups and downs, struggles and joys. And if you're new here, hello, my name is Connie, and this is my YouTube channel where I share my adventures in film photography, learning, experimenting, and more. And every now and then I feel confident enough to talk to you, just sharing my random thoughts related to creativity and stuff. Initially I thought this was going to be like a podcast, but then I realized it's more like a long audio note I would send to a friend. I prefer to think of this exercise as a lengthy WhatsApp voice message. Otherwise, I start to feel like, I don't know, it needs to be super structured or more interesting, or that I should research about it. But when I reflect while I talk, as I do with my friends, things feel lighter and more vulnerable. Yeah, I hope you get what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so the thing is that I used to be, let's talk in the past, even though there are moments where I still feel like this. I used to be so shy when showing my photographs, guys. When I was a teenager, I used to take hundreds of images in secret. I guess everyone around me knew I liked photography, that it was my passion and all, but it felt so frightening for me to show whatever I was doing. And I'm almost sure that some of you have experienced something similar, because I have a couple of friends who have experienced the same thing in other creative areas, like friends who are hidden writers or who like to sing and compose songs, or even painters who prefer to create in private. And it's, I don't know, it's just not really easy to expose what you do. At least for some of us, it can feel very vulnerable and threatening. Whether we are talking about showing our crafts on social media or maybe to our closest friends even. I used to tell to myself when I was younger that this was something I wanted to do just for me. That I wanted to create and make photographs just for me, which I guess is something that it's real for a lot of people. I mean, I totally believe that there are plenty of people who just want to create for the sake of it, and sharing it with more people isn't really a thing. But for me, that was just a lie. I wanted my photographs to be seen. I really wanted someone to connect with what I was doing. So eventually, when I realized I was lying to myself, it became an issue that I had to tackle. So I think my history in this matter has been long, very slow also, slower than I would have liked. I started exposing myself to different scenarios. I remember the very first photography course I took. It was, of course, taken for granted that I had to show my photos there. But can you guys believe that I never thought of it before? I never thought that if I entered into a photography course, I was going to be forced to show my images. To show my photographs in front of a class was massive for me. It was so scary being exposed to the criticism of others. I was like, how did I not think about this. What am I doing here? Why am I doing this to myself? But then fortunately, it was a very friendly space, by the way. I know there are some courses that can be very hostile, and even teachers can be very hard and make things more, I don't know, scary and even traumatic in some cases. So if you're sensitive to criticism like me, run away from these teachers until you feel more secure about your work. It's always better to receive criticism in a good and constructive way. Well, anyway, this was fortunately a friendly environment, and I was able to learn and to understand that allowing myself to show others that I was trying to be good at photography, it was totally okay. You know, things sound logic when you say them out loud, but when they are in your mind, I don't know, it feels more terrifying than it actually is. From this point, from the point in which I started this course and I exposed myself to this experience, to showing my work on social media, was a much longer and confusing path in which I do not even have 100% of clarity, so I'm going to jump to my current situation now, but I wanted to stop at that part of the experience to talk to you about this photography course, because I think exposing ourselves to our fears is terribly uncomfortable. It's paralyzing sometimes, and we can even lie to ourselves to avoid facing that thing that is stopping us from going where we want to. But I guess in the end, at least for me, it's liberating. It's like passing a stage in a very difficult game. It's tough, but it's rewarding. Also, in my case at least, all this fear was more terrible in my mind than in reality. I really believed that receiving bad criticism about my photography was going to destroy me. Now it sounds silly for me, but when you believe it, it's really, really scary. When I actually received criticism in real life, like actual corrections, feedback, even bad and hateful comments, in reality it wasn't that terrible for me. I know this is not the case for all of us, but I think it's worth sharing that receiving a hateful comment, or not even hateful, but a criticism that comes from a not very healthy or constructive place, it can be very harmful. But at least for me, in reality, it wasn't. I was able to discern that this kind of criticism was just not helpful for me, wasn't adding to my growth in terms of photography. So I knew that, and I know now that I do not have to give it value. So that's why it doesn't feel threatening anymore. Anyway, regarding social media, I don't know if I'm talking too randomly here. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Anyway, regarding social media, it was also a whole path of paralyzing thoughts. Do you guys share your stuff on social media? What do you guys think about it? I started sharing things online and on this YouTube channel out of necessity. I wanted to connect with people with same interests, and because I had the desire also to share my work with more people. And I was alone in this new city and I couldn't afford any courses or anything, so I decided to start sharing my experience online again with a lot of resistance. I was afraid, I felt cringe, I felt I was too old for this. I had so much prejudice and fear about it, but still I started this channel and I started sharing a little more on Instagram. Everything without pressure, by the way, little by little, at my own rhythm. As you can see, I do not post all the time. I try to respect my own pace and to share when I feel like it, but to maintain a rhythm good enough for me to assure that I'm not avoiding the task. And let me tell you guys that it has been great, much better than what I thought. I have learned so much from people who have reached out because I dared to share my work online. Also, I've learned so much from some of you who have given me advice and shared super interesting experiences. It has been enriching more than anything else, and little by little it has helped me gain more confidence and motivation to continue shooting and sharing and learning about photography. I feel genuinely relaxed now to show all my process, my images, the ones I like and the ones I do not feel really happy with. I love to do it, and I also have come to understand the value of it. Personally, I love to see other photographers and creative processes, the good and the bad. It's actually a relief to see that. I think it's so important to question the idea of what should be exposed in public and what not, and to allow ourselves to show what we feel like showing. At least for me, it has been a relief. It feels closer to what I want from myself. By the way, I think this has nothing to do with having a big amount of followers or anything. As you can imagine, this is not my objective here, at least for now. And it's not that there's anything wrong with that also. But what I want to express is that showing my work online intentionally, pushing myself a little bit to do that, is just an exercise that has helped me feel more connected to my creativity, because in a way to show what I do has helped me also to validate myself in what I'm doing. Am I making any sense? I hope I am. And also my cat is snoring like very loudly, so yeah, I hope you don't listen to her. Well, if you do, I'm sorry for that. Well, another thing I believe it's important to mention is that while I'm shooting, I try not to think about the process of showing my images. In the moment of creation, I feel, or I believe that, at least now for me, it is not very good. It's counterproductive to make images thinking about who is going to see them or thinking about an audience, at least for now. I don't believe this is necessarily the best thing to do. I'm just trying to say that it is what works for me right now, and that's why you always see me in the videos wearing headphones when I'm alone shooting. Otherwise, I think my mind still starts to think too much about who is going to see the images. So now what I do is listen to podcasts that help me get out of my mind. For example, I usually listen to comedy podcasts or podcasts about creativity or the life of authors. I do that because if I'm listening to something, I'm not paying that much attention to my thoughts, and I'm more in a sort of automatic mood. I mean, it's not completely automatic, but it feels a little bit like that. Yeah, I guess it's a flow state. I'm more focused on the action. I guess I'm more present. The part where I think about showing my work comes later, when I have all the images, when I have the images on my mobile. This is when I start to think about what to post or not. Well, just to finish, in case you're struggling with how to show your work or what parts of it to show, and it doesn't come naturally to you, just like it happens to me, I wanted to recommend you a book that helped me so much. It's called Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. Maybe you are already familiar with it. It's a book about self-promotion for artists, and it clarified some stuff for me when I was feeling lost about it. I will leave the name in the description, just in case. Anyway, guys, I could talk more about this, but I'm running out of footage. I hope you are doing fantastic. I hope you are enjoying your days. And if you're liking my content, remember to subscribe, like and share, and please let me know how you feel about showing your work. I would love to know what you think about it and to enrich my own vision with yours. Alright, so see you soon. Take care. Until the next video. Bye bye.